Hello, I'm Harvie S., and I'm here at Kolstein, NYC. Hello, I'm Harvie S., and I'm here at Kolstein, NYC, right in New York City, right across the street from Central Park. And this is a podcast called Bass in the Corner. And, you know, what I'm doing here is featuring bass players that don't get to a lot of recognition. They get a lot of work, they made history, but a lot of people don't know who they are because they're always looking at the front man of the band. But we are the lifeblood of the music, the bass players. Mm-hmm. And I'm showing them off, and I'm very excited to say this is a guy that I've known since college. And I'm not that young. And great bass player, good friend, Chip Jackson. Yeah. So anyway, good to have you, Chip.
Thank you, Harvie.
Thanks for coming over today.
Thank you, Harvie.
And, okay, so, you know, if you go on Wikipedia, of course, you see Chip Jackson did da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, we just talk about, just talk about some things you might be doing now or some things going on, and then we'll move on.
Okay, yeah. Well, after spending 15 years with Billy Taylor's trio, I just stayed around New York. I didn't travel a whole lot. So I played, I had a nice group with Mike Wolf and Mike Clark.
Oh, nice.
And that was dynamite. We made one record and did some touring. And then one thing I'm working on now is they're putting together, Jazzmobile's putting together a group called Taylor Made, which is the music of Billy Taylor.
And you'd be the cat.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much the musical director with like Cyrus Chestnut and Winard Harper, John Faddis, Steve Wilson, and it's really cool to play Billy's music with modern musicians because, Billy was very kind of like specific about how he wanted his music played, but I think he would be very proud of how we're playing his music. Because even Cyrus said, should I play this the way Billy did? And I said, no, man, he would be proud of you to play it the way you want to play it. So it's going to be put together for a tour of the U.S.
Oh, nice.
So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, good. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just trying to, I have a group I play with every week with Ray Marchica and Ted Kushin and Peter Brainin. And we play each other's music and make arrangements of our favorite tunes. And I'm working on doing something with that, like recording it and doing some playing with it.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
I want to check that out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, this is actually, I've known you a long time, but I never asked you this question, when you were young, let's face it, most parents don't say, I want you to become a bass player. I don't think they said that. No. So, how did you kind of you became one of the major bass players, but how did, it wasn't like you were groomed. How did you get in it?
I love that question, man. I just love that because the bass is an unusual instrument to play, I think. And most people, like you said, they don't, start out saying, I want to play the trumpet because it's so loud and, But the point is that I played piano when I was about 8 years old because my mother was musical and her mother was a piano player.
Oh,
I didn't know her. She played in church, And I had a teacher who's about 100 years old. And she wrote a letter to my mother saying, your son is so talented. Hopefully he can come twice a week rather than once a week. Anyway, 2 years later, she died. Oh. And then my new teacher was so bad, I said, later for the piano. He was a classical guy who would hit my fingers if I made mistakes, and I said, I don't want to do this. So my mother was so frustrated. By the way, she gave me the letter. She kept it her whole life, and I have the letter from that teacher. It's so cool. Anyway, so she said, is there any other instrument you might want to play? Like when I was a kid, I used to go to hear the symphony in Portland, Maine, and I loved the bass sound of the basses. What do you think? And I go, yeah, sure, okay, yeah. So the next day, she rented me a half-size upright bass, and the rest is history. I just took to it. So it's really mom. It's really my mom.
Wow, you got very lucky.
I got very lucky, very. And also my teacher at school, at public school, you know, the teachers have to play all the instruments. His main instrument was bass. He was from Russia. So.
And the Russian.
Yeah, the Vogelboatman.
The way they learn, they're bad. The Russian bass players.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I was very lucky in both those ways. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, cool. Yeah, so that kind of got you in it. And then you went to school?
Well, I learned in public schools where I learned how to play the bass properly, and I also played in the Stanford, Connecticut Symphony and All-State Symphony. So I played symphonic music, not a lot, but it taught me how to play the bass properly. So I know it was good that I learned how to play the bass properly, you know, with the right fingering and shifting and you know, play in tune, really in tune. And then I went to Berklee College of Music because some friends of mine, I also played the bass guitar. I got a bass guitar a couple of years after I was playing the upright bass and played in garage bands. My garage band was pretty good. We opened for the Doors. I don't know if you know who they are.
Of course I know the Doors.
We opened for them, you know.
Baby Light My Fire.
Yeah, and we were hired to back up Chuck Berry when he came to our town.
Wow.
So I mean I like pop music too. And so when I got to, some friends of mine had gone to the summer program at Berklee, and they said, "You're not going to believe how cool it is up there." So I decided to give it a try. And I always say in my life I've been hit by lightning twice. Once when I got to Berklee and heard all this jazz I never really heard a lot of.
When you came, I wasn't even a bass player, but there was Miroslav was there, and
Ron McClure.
Yeah, Ron McClure and Rick Laird.
Yep.
And
Mraz was there.
And George Mraz. I mean, enough to scare anybody.
Yes, yes, and you know, wow, yes, you know that taught me early on that I might become one of the best at some point, but I certainly am not now, and I'm just starting. So I have to look for something that's going to be personal. So right away, I incorporated a lot of the rock and roll energy that I experienced playing, you know, some of the garage band music that I play. I call it a blues and roots music. It's really the blues and roots music of jazz anyway. Rhythm and blues, I played a lot of that, like B.B. King and Albert King and, you know, the Sly and the Family Stone.
All related to jazz.
All related, totally. So, I mean, you know, that's kind of, and when I heard, there's two or three bass players I heard that just blew my mind. Stanley Clarke, 19 years old.
Yeah, I remember.
So exciting. I heard him with Joe Henderson's group, and I was like, are you kidding me?
I heard that band at the Jazz Workshop.
Me too.
We were probably there together.
And he had a polytone pickup with a big-ass ebony mute on the bridge to cut down the overtones. And his sound, and it was so exciting. I said, I've never heard anything so exciting.
He had such technique.
Oh, he was all over that thing, man. And I was, and Eddie Gomez too.
Oh.
So exciting. I said, that's what I want to do. I mean, the bass is not just some wallpaper that plays the background, man. It's very exciting. So that was very inspiring, very inspiring. And I heard Weather Report with Miroslav, the first one, and I went, oh my God.
And his first record he made with Chick Corea.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now he sings, now he sobs.
Oh my
Incredible,
God. It's
incredible. So I was inspired. It was inspiring to be up there. It was really inspiring. So, and the other time I was hit by lightning is when my daughter was born.
Yeah, well, that'll do it. Yeah. So that's so cool. So now, as a musician, you get into weird situations, whether you like it or not. No matter how good you are, no matter how hard you try to keep it together, weird stuff happens. Am I wrong?
Oh boy.
Am I right?
That's like 90% of the situations.
So, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about, we all have funny stories, crazy things that happen to us. I mean, and sometimes too many to think of. But if something comes to mind, I thought it'd be fun in the podcast to talk about that.
Yes, I mean, you know, I always want to ask people what was their worst New Year's gig, because, you know, you really hear some stories about that. But I think one of my, you know, when I played with Elvin Jones, which was over a 10-year period, I was in and out of the band 4 times because of scheduling, his scheduling and mine. And one night my amp stopped working. And when I got to do a G chord, I'd play the open G with my left hand and try and get the amp to work. And he looks at me and he goes, you don't need no amp. And he goes, squeeze it out.
Squeeze it out.
So I'm playing, I could barely hear myself. He heard every diddly boom and every ickety boom I played. Every little thing I played, he heard it, I could tell. And I was like, wow, that's some radar going on there. And so that's why I say, it was kind of, it's not really one of the most unusual, like difficult situations I've been in musically, but it's one where I learned a lot, But can I tell one more story?
Please.
The worst time I had on stage, equipment-wise, was when I was playing for an entertainer that wanted me to spin the bass every time she every time she introduced me. And the reason is because I spun it one night, just off the cuff, and she said, "Oh, do it every night, please." And this is a long tour, like a 2 to 2.5 month world tour. So every night I'm spinning it, and I'm going, "Oh shit, really? This is so corny." So one night I don't spin it.
Oh.
And the band leader's next to me, and he's the drummer. He's right next to me, and his face gets beet red, and his veins stick out, and he goes, "Spin it!" So I spin it.
See it.
Yeah. So
I think I know who it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes. And I spin it, and I hadn't gotten the wires ready to be spun because it's your bass is connected to a sound system and an amp. You can't just like spin the bass and wires. So they shorted out, and I didn't know it. So this is at a big concert, not like a little club. So I spin it, and she's very happy, and everybody's happy. And the next song she sings is "Someone to Watch Over Me," and there's a pin spot. And I'm sitting on the piano bench with a pin spot, and she goes, "There's a saying old, says that love is blind. Dee-doo, dee-doo-doo, dee-doo, dee-doo-doo. Only man I ever think of." Right at that moment, the wires touch, and it sounded like the Queen Mary's foghorn. It goes, "Only man I ever think of." Whoa! And she goes, "With regret." I mean, he actually used it as part, recovered. So, I felt like shit. And for the rest of the show, I had to barely move. I played the whole show like this. And the conductor's going, "Are you all right, man?" I said, "I'll tell you later." I couldn't move because it would do it again, So that was an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. I totally dig that.
And I have many stories about rented basses, too, that are like, ones with cobwebs on them.
Oh.
One that only 2 strings were playable.
Yeah, I remember having basses where the strings were like this. I with all my strength, I couldn't get it to the fingerboard. Just going like this, I couldn't make it to the fingerboard.
I had a bass like that one night, and Elvin turned to me. He goes, "Sounds a little sluggish tonight, Chip."
Little do they know.
I know.
Oh God, what a... Oh, all right. Well, anyway, that's so cool. So, like now, here you are. You've been here before, though. You've been here to the shop.
I love this shop. It's so impressive.
In the New York shop, yeah.
Yeah. I was with the one in Long Island, too.
That's great, too, of course.
Yeah, but this is so impressive. I can't, it's just stunning to come in here. Stunning. Yeah. And the quality of work here is just unequaled anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's why I'm involved with the shop.
Yeah.
And today you tried the strings, the Heritage.
Love them. And I'm a nut with strings.
I know you are.
I am.
I know you'll have like 4 different strings on your bass.
I think Dennis Irwin's the only other person I know who did that. Or different string from different set on every, and all my basses are different. I have 5 upright basses, and I would get a set just right on one bass, and I'd go, "Got it." And then I'd put it on my other bass, and the bass would say, "No, Chip, no, that's not going to work for me."
These strings, I think, they'll do the whole thing.
Yeah, because it's all about not just the sound, but the feel of the string and the tension on the string, and there's so many combinations of things that make a string work. And every once in a while, I'll find a string that's so unusually great. I'll call it the magic string. And I go to my wife and I go running into her and I say, "I found a magic string." Cecil McBee had a G string on his bass for 10 years.
By the way, speaking of basses, that's Eddie Gomez's bass.
Oh, out of sight. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's Eddie's bass.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool, man. That is just awesome. I've played almost everyone's bass. I played Miroslav's bass, Ray Brown's, Ron Carter's, Bob Cranshaw's bass, Percy Heath's bass.
I played all of those too.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
interesting, and they're
it
all
is.
like another thing.
Yeah.
Now, they have Percy's bass
I have.
in Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
It's not here. They keep it in a vault. It was like, I'm serious, because it used to be a bank or something, and there's like a vault, and it's like locked up.
It's like
in
six figures,
in a
right?
bank
Six figures, right?
Because that bass was made in the 1600s or something, and it looks new. And that's the bass that he toured all over the world with.
Amazing.
And what a
Amazing.
sound. I'll tell you a quick story about that bass.
Yeah.
When I was out at the Monterey Festival,
Mm-hmm.
I was playing there, and we had played. I was with Getz at the time, so I went all the way to the back to get some food.
Yeah.
And while I'm back, the electricity went out.
Mm-hmm.
So they were on stage with the MJQ
Mm-hmm.
playing acoustically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 2 football fields away. I could hear the bass.
Wow. Yeah, it's unusual, man.
I'm sitting there, and there's no sound system, and they just played, because it was piano, bass, drum, vibe, and he was playing the bass, and I could hear the bass. It was like 2 football fields.
That's
That
that's
bass
special.
is
Yeah, I have one very quick story with Percy. I was at the North Sea Festival with Roy Haynes, and Jack DeJohnette sat in, and we started playing doo-dee and doo-dee and doo doo-dee and doo-dee and doo-doo, doo-dee and doo-dee and doo-dee, Blues on the Corner. And it felt so good. It was with Kukowski and Craig Andy, and we're just killing it. And I feel this tap on my shoulder while we're playing, and I turn around, and it's Percy, and he goes, "Give me some of this, man." and I go, "No."
Ain't giving that
And
up.
I'm surprised that I said, this guy's a hero and, a great guy, and I'm like, no, it just felt so good, man. We're playing a couple more
Yeah,
courses.
you don't want to stop.
No, I'm going to give that up. Are you kidding me? A couple of courses later, I feel it, and he goes, "Please." So I gave it up to him, and it went into the toilet. He was so drunk, man. But anyway, I just love that bit. He had to have some of it. He just felt it. He was like, "Can I have some of this?"
Percy, one of our heroes,
Yeah.
no question.
Yeah.
All right, well, great. This has been amazing.
Oh, Harvey, thank you.
Chip, thanks for doing this. Always great to see you.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that I always love hearing you, Harvey. I mean,
Oh.
you are an inspiration, and you always have been and will be. You have your own style, and it's exquisite. That's my personal opinion.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Cut.